Welcome to the April 1st, 2019 Frankfort Village Board meeting. We call this meeting to order and we ask our clerk, Adam Borelli, to take the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Holland.
Here.
Trustee Clavio. Here. Trustee Heath.
Here.
Trustee Kennedy.
Here.
Trustee Ogle.
Here.
Trustee Stevens.
Here.
Trustee Trevarthen is absent. The village clerk is present. Attorney Mahoney.
Here.
Attorney Lamore. Here. Chief Barica.
Present.
Administrator Pisha.
Here.
Assistant Administrator Cook.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is what we call the unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on after a single motion. If one of the trustees wants to discuss one of these items in more detail, we'll just remove it from the consent agenda. So I first ask, do any trustees want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Stevens and a second by Trustee Ogle. And we do want the people here in our boardroom and the people at home on television and on the internet who watch this program to know something about the items that we're passing. So we'll go over each one of them just briefly. First item on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was on March 18th, 2019. Second item is the approval of the bills and the payroll, and we'll go to Trustee Heath, who's the chairperson of our Finance Committee, for a report on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight's bill total is relatively low, $336,544.84. It includes primarily routine items, repairs, electricity. The garbage bill was $115,000 out of that total. $31,000 of that total was a payment to our dispatch center at Laraway. The wastewater treatment plant capital was pretty low this month at only $35,000. The only item of interest there that's a little bit different was the $14,000, which is a grant that was approved at the last meeting for an expansion of an industrial business in the south corridor of town. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Cindy. And then we have three items from our Plan Commission, and we'll go to Trustee Stevens, who is the liaison with the Plan Commission, for a report on those.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item this evening is the LeMahieu accessory structure variance. The property owners, Keith and Lauren LeMahieu, request the approval of an accessory structure setback variance from 10 feet to 5 feet along the eastern property line of an accessory area variance from 144 square feet to 288 square feet to construct a shed at the rear of their property located at their home, 445 Meadow Avenue. Now, the proposed shed exceeds the maximum allowable area and encroaches the required setback, and as such, variances are required to accommodate its construction. Now, the subject property is substandard in that the lot area is only a little over 11,000 square feet, where our ordinance calls for 15,000 square feet, and the lot width is only 75 feet versus the 100 feet that are required. Now, there is an existing shed that the applicant has agreed to take down prior to construction of the new shed. Now, the initial proposal was to construct a 288 square foot shed, but during the meeting with our Plan Commission, after much discussion, the applicant has agreed to reduce the size to 180 square feet. And he will finish the side of the shed in cedar siding to match the existing home. Now, I will make a comment that this home has no basement, and they are constructing this shed for more storage. The applicant also does woodworking. Currently, he does it on his driveway in front of his garage, so this will move that to the back of his yard. The second item tonight is the Beck side yard setback variance. The property owners, James and Catherine Beck, request the approval of a side yard setback variance from 25 feet to 12.5 feet along the eastern property line to construct a two-car garage addition to their existing home located at 619 Prestwick Drive within the Prestwick subdivision. This proposed addition encroaches on the required side yard setback, and as such, a variance is required to accommodate its construction. At our March 14th, 2019 public hearing on this project, the Plan Commission forwarded a unanimous recommendation to this board to approve the request. And I'll also add that the Prestwick Homeowner Association has reviewed this request and they have approved. The final item is Jen and Joe's Salon Special Use for Personal Services. The applicant, Joseph Pasorik, proposes to open Jen and Joe's Salon at a 1,400 square foot, 4-chair salon in a unit located at 10179 West Lincoln Highway within the Brookside Commons office complex. Village ordinance classifies the proposed use as personal service, which requires approval of a special use permit within the B4 office district. This item was reviewed at our March 14th, 2019 public hearing and was approved unanimously by our commissioners. I do want to add one more item to our first item this evening on our Plan Commission report. At our March 14th, 2019 public hearing on this project, the commissioners forwarded two split recommendations on this item, 4-1 to approve the side yard setback and a 3-2 recommendation to approve the storage of the shed. That was subject to to the removal of the existing storage shed. Can't get my words out too good tonight, Mayor. That's all that I have tonight from the Plan Commission.
Well, thank you, Mike. And then we have one item that, while we may call it routine, it's certainly a bit unusual. It's not often that even a quasi-government organization is closed down. And one of our trustees has been working on this for a long time to accomplish this task. And we're going to get a report from Trustee Heath about the termination and dissolution of the Lincoln Way Public Safety Communication Center and intergovernmental agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, and I don't think we ever terminate governmental entities in this state because everyone I dealt with had no idea how to accomplish this. But we are finally accomplishing this. This is all related to our dispatch center, our 911 dispatch center. If you've followed board meetings in the last couple of years, there was a government mandate by the governor of Illinois at the time that we needed to consolidate the number of dispatch centers in Illinois. So we moved the 8 entities that were part of the Lincoln Way Dispatch Center to a consolidated center at Lair Way, which encompasses a large part of the county, including the Will County Sheriff and the communities that are in the southern and kind of center of the county. And that actually did take place in December of 2017. But the legal organization and some details were left over in order to terminate the agreement that we had as 8 entities to accomplish the dissolution of that center. So what we have before us tonight is we are voting to adopt a resolution authorizing the dissolution of that Lincoln Way Public Communications Center, which again hasn't been functioning since December of 2017, and also a resolution authorizing the termination of the Intergovernmental Public Safety Agreement, which was an agreement amongst those 8 entities that we would cooperate together in working for this center. Once this is done, I'll be ready to retire.
Thank you, Cindy. I know it's been a lot of work on this issue, and you were our person who represented the village on the Lincoln Way Communications board for many, many years, and that's appreciated too. So those are all of the items on the consent agenda this evening, and before we vote on them, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to make a comment to the village trustees and myself about any of these items? Hearing none, any questions or comments from the trustees? Then we'll go to our clerk, Adam Borelli, for the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trustee Clavio?
Yes.
Trustee Heath?
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy?
Yes.
Trustee Ogle?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We have another item this evening, and it's titled Settlement Agreement and General Release, and we'll go to Trustee Clavio for a report on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly another non-routine item, which is a good thing. This evening, a settlement agreement for a pending lawsuit by Frankfort police officer Jennifer Panettone comes before the board for approval. The village believes its policies and practices fully complied with the law. The village agreed to settle this matter to avoid a protracted and distracting dispute with a current member of the village's police force. We hope this settlement will allow the village and Officer Panettone to move forward and maintain their focus on serving the citizens of the village of Frankfort. Tonight we are making a motion to approve the settlement, or I would entertain a motion to approve the settlement agreement and general release as presented to the board.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Trustee Heath and a second by Trustee Kennedy. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to comment to the board about this issue? And any questions or comments from the trustees? We'll go to our clerk, Adam Borelli, for the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trustee Claudio?
Yes.
Trustee
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Trustee Ogle?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item on our agenda is the mayor's report. The first item on the mayor's report is we start branch collection right now in the village. That will go until mid-October. We expect to get around the entire village every week from now until mid-October. We ask people to put their branches on up next to the street with the ends pointing towards the street. They then go into the chipper easier, and they should be neatly stacked, and it's not too complicated at all. In addition, New Way Disposal starts their yard waste pickup starting this week. So you need one of those brown bags and a green sticker on the bag to get yard waste picked up. And reserve the date for Earth Day celebration. That comes up on April 27th in the village of Frankfort. We certainly look for civic groups to join in this activity, and individual residents. Event begins at 8:30 in the morning at the Public Works facility down at 524 Center Road, and it concludes with a luncheon for all volunteers at 11:30. And we usually have several hundred people show up for this, so it's really kind of a nice event. And we go out and literally pick up the garbage around the village, and we do some flower planting. But what we really need are people to go out and pick up the garbage along Route 30 and Route 45 and some of the major roads, as well as neighborhood groups will band together. My neighborhood does, and has 5 or 6 people who go out and clean up around our neighborhood and our little neighborhood parks. So we hope people will join us, and if you have a large group, be sure to call the village so we can make sure we can accommodate you. Frankfort Country Market returns on Saturday, or Sunday. It's always been on Sunday. Sunday, April 28th. So we're looking forward to that beginning again. A sure sign that spring is coming. 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, Sunday, April 28th. And that concludes the mayor's report. And we'll go to our police chief, John Barica, for the police department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, as a save the date, on Friday, April 19th, we'll be doing another Coffee with a Cop. That will be from 9 to 10:30 a.m., and we're doing it someplace different this time, Kohl's, at 11055 West Lincoln Highway. Just a way to reach out to some different people. We have decided to try something different, and we'll do it at Kohl's this time. But again, that'll be on April 19th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. I also want to let people know that we are currently doing a distracted driving grant that was sponsored by the state of Illinois. We have officers who are hired back to go out and look for distracted drivers. Our first went out tonight, and we'll have several of them coming up, but they're mainly looking for people using their cell phones. Again, just to remind people that use of cell phones is not allowed while driving unless it's completely hands-free. And that does mean if you have the speakerphone on, it's in your hand, that's not hands-free. It has to be down in the car. You can't be touching it in any way. But that will be their main emphasis during that grant. Those are statewide, too. It's not just us doing it. I'll also remind people to slow down in residential areas as the summer seems to be coming, or at least the spring seems to be coming. They're talking about warm weather this weekend. Be a lot more people out and about in the neighborhoods on bikes, running around. So again, be cautious. Make sure you're reducing your speeds. That is the #1 complaint we get at the police department is people speeding through the neighborhoods. So please help us to help you and slow down and don't use our resources to have to sit on speeders inside the neighborhoods. And finally, I would also like to thank Trustee Heath for all of her work. I know with Lincoln Way how much she went through with that. I only had a very small portion of it. It was a lot of stuff, so I know how much you went through and a lot of time you put into that, and finally got to the end, which we thought would never happen. Yes. So thank you very much for all your work on that. That's all I have.
Thank you, John. And now we go to Village Administrator Rob Pisha for the Village Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, just want to advise residents that the trail on the railroad crossing on Sauk Trail will be repaired by the CN. Right now, it's scheduled to begin work on May 6th at 9 o'clock and go all the way through to May 10th. So that week, that section of Sauk Trail between Pfeiffer, really, and Center will be closed. For the repairs of the railroad tracks. So hopefully we won't have any delays and that'll get repaired. I know some of the residents have also been asking about some repairs on Wolf Road and 116th. We did reach out to CN to advise them that during the winter that the tracks have sunk some. They are planning on scheduling to come out to do some grinding to help with that, but they do not have it slated right now for full repairs. But they are aware, and we are keeping them aware of any specific issues. Just a follow-up to Trustee Kennedy. He had brought up about the traffic signal at Wolf Road and Route 30. The signal has been corrected to extend the left turn signal to make it longer than allowing 4 cars to get through. I did verify again today that it has been fixed, so I just wanted to follow up on that.
Thank you so much.
And then on just a follow-up to the branch issue, as you said, Mayor, that we're beginning branch pickup. I would ask residents if they have a lot of branches that they can call into the village and let us know. It saves us some time instead of having the trucks just going all over. If we have an idea that there's some large piles or there's a lot of branches, if the residents want to call in. I do remind residents that if they have a landscaper that does work at their yard and they're cutting the branches, that the landscaper is responsible to remove those, not to put them at the curb for staff to remove. That is really a service reserved for the residents when they're doing their own yard work. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Rob. And now we go to Hannah Lamore and George Mahoney for the Village Attorney's report.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. And with that, we'll go to what we call other business. And this evening, we'll start with our clerk, Adam Borelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tomorrow's a big day, consolidated election. Polls open at 6 a.m. They close at 7 p.m. If you're not sure where your polling place is, you can go to the willcountyclerk.com. There's a tab right at the top that says polling place, and it'll you type in your address. It'll show you where your polling place is, and it'll also allow you to print out a sample ballot if you'd like. Regarding early voting at Village Hall, that closed on this past Friday. We had 312 early voters at Village Hall, which compared to 2017, we had 707, so we'll see if it's a little less than half, so we'll see if that's a predictor for the turnout tomorrow. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Well, that's very interesting. Thanks, Adam. And Trustee Ogle.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to thank Trustee Heath for all the work that she did on the call center and also putting it to bed, so to speak, here. Tremendous amount of work involved. Also, condolences go out to Ed Presser, who was an intern here for several years, and his father just passed away recently. As the police chief has been saying for quite a while, when you see something suspicious out there in the community, you should call it in. And this is one of the first times that I did. I was out walking the dog the other night, about 10:15, and there was a car suspiciously going down and stopping at each of the driveways. I could see him coming down the long street. And it just, at first you think, okay, well, maybe it's somebody looking for an address, dropping off a child or something, and they kept coming along. And when they saw us in the shadows, they kind of moved along quickly at that point. But I did call it in. Police responded. At least it's good to know that maybe somebody's working this area, and the police then could be alert and working for it. But also the officer that stopped to talk with me said that a lot more residents have been calling in when they see suspicious activity. So this is going to be very important to us in this community. What goes out on the news and all of the things is that you might as well come to Frankfort because they don't even bother to lock the doors. We've been talking about this for 4 years. So we need to be active ourselves. We need to be calling when you see something suspicious, and let's make sure we take care of each other. One other thing that has come up, and people are concerned when they see it, were some fires that were burning during the week. And they're actually controlled burns. I didn't know too much about controlled burns, but Kay McNeil, who's a resident here, when I was on the library board with her, kind of led me through exactly what that was. All these invasive species of plants come in and all sorts of other grasses, and the burn is managed by professionals, and it gets rid of those invasive species. The native plants have deep roots, and so it doesn't harm them. They're able to grow. It also replenishes the soil, and also some of the material that, especially out west, when it's not managed, that becomes fuel for these large forest fires. So people were concerned when they saw smoke and fire and things like that. And again, if you see fire and you see smoke somewhere, please call. Your local fire department or the police will say, you know, either go and check it out, or else they'll say this is actually a part of what we're doing too. So, thank you, Mayor. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Keith. And now, Trustee Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. To those residents who haven't voted yet, I encourage you to vote tomorrow. It's probably the most important election that we have because it deals with our high school district, our grade school district, and importantly with our village trustees. So I really encourage you to get out and vote. It's really important. And I do want to wish my colleagues here tonight good luck tomorrow in the election. And please lock your doors, folks. We see so much of it that people leave their doors open and bad things happen. So please lock your car doors. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Trustee Heath.
My only comment is to echo Mike. It's so important in a small town that every single vote counts, so please do get out. If you haven't already voted, get out and vote tomorrow. That would be April 2nd. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Cindy. Trustee Kennedy.
Just a couple comments, Mayor. I had the pleasure of talking with Sue Lynchy here at the village about the country markets that are coming up, and just so the public knows, maybe build up a little excitement as we have a lot of new vendors this year. We're keeping a lot of the same quality vendors, but we've been able, because of the space, to add some new ones. So it should be a new and improved country markets coming up this year. 3 comments to our trustees. I hope Dick Trevarthen is doing well. Just want to let him know I miss him. I want to thank Trustee Heath for all her work on the 911 center and all that. It's been an amazing ride, and thanks for protecting the citizens of Frankfort. Cindy, you've done a great job. And lastly, I'd like to wish an early birthday to Trustee Clavio, whose birthday's coming up in a couple of days. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And Trustee Clavio.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. I would echo the sentiment that voting is very important. People often don't show up in, let's call them a lesser election when there's not a national election or governor's election, but the reality is the little ones or the non-national ones are the ones that really, really matter, because those are the hands-on for the local municipality. In that regard, for those of you who have early voted, not to talk politics, but you'll notice that there are 2 existing trustees who are not on that ballot because they are moving on to the next chapter of their life called retirement from the village board. And I want to express, I know it's one meeting early, but I want to express a sincere gratitude to Trustee Heath and Trustee Stevens for all the hours, countless hours that both of you have put into this job. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, John. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call public comments. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a comment to the village board tonight? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for personnel 5 ILCS 120/2C1 and collective negotiating 5 ILCS 120/2C2.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Trustee Clavio and a second by Trustee Heath. And we'll go to our clerk, Adam Borelli, for the vote.
Mayor, Trustee Clavio?
Yes.
Trustee Heath?
Yes.
Trustee Kennedy?
Yes.
Trustee Ogle?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, the board is going to go into executive session. So thanks for attending tonight.